So the first exercise that I'm doing with you today, the second part, is exercise 19. It starts on page 198, goes to, and the diagram is on page 199. Exercise 19 says, from the following information, compute the early, late, and slack times for each activity. Identify the critical path. So let's put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Start to start, okay? That's the first activity. I'll be using the same notation we have on MS Project. So I'll be using a different notation from the textbook. So the idea here is to say start to start plus, and that plus 4. That plus 4 means that that relationship is a start to start with lag of 4. That's the way we input lags in the when you do in that MS project, in that column that is called predecessor. So I'll be using the same notation as the MS project. Okay, start to start, lag 4. Here it's clear. If you don't put anything, is a finish to start. Is a the default notation, finish to start. Okay, but and that's it's the and then we have another start to start here with a lag of 2, and I have B to D, and here because it's I have a lag here, I have to put finish to start. That's the regular the default, the normal, plus 3. That means that finish start plus lag of 3, and then but in this activity I have 2. And I have a finish to finish plus 2, and then I have the last activity. Important here, if I don't put anything, is a finish to start without lag. Is that okay? Finish start without lag. So now let's solve the network. Is that okay? When I be solving the network, I will try to explain the relationships and understand the real motive why the project manager decided to design a network the way it is here. Okay, so we start with 0. Okay, 0 as any other network. 0 plus 5, 5. So we are going through the forward path. 0 plus 5, 5. And here we have 2, after task A, we have 2 tasks, task C and B. For task C, is direct. You go here and you do 5. What is the start, early start for task B? So that's 4. Why 4? Because that's a start to start relationship. Means that that task here will start together with task A. Task B will start together with task A. But because I have a lag of 4, the starting date for B is 4. And then I can move here 4 plus 1, 4. 4. So I have the 4 plus 1, 4. 4 plus 1, 5. Okay. For task C, 5 plus 6, 11. And now goes for task E. Task E. What is the early start for task E? Okay? Because we start has a start to start relationship. So it's 5 plus 2, 7. And what is the finish date for E? And that is the moment of the class. That is the most critical moment. And that we're talking about how to find what is the the early finish for task E. Any task, and pay attention, any task can have to fulfill one or more conditions. And what will be when you have that situation here? You can see the task E has two conditions to fulfill. The first condition is the actual execution. That task, if I start on 7, I take 3 days. It means that I will be finishing on day 10. That's the first condition. I like to call that as a internal task condition. I call that internal condition, in which I go from 3 and I have here outcome with 10. That's the internal condition. But I have another condition to finish the task. That is the external condition. The external condition is 11. There is a finish to finish relationship. There is 11 plus 2, 13. So I have two conditions to finish task E. I just can finish task E if I execute the task, of course, so 10, and I have to wait until 2 days after finishing task C. Two conditions. Because we are in the forward path, I have two conditions. I take the longest condition. And therefore, I have 13 as the day. And that can happen in several projects, okay? In real projects. To finish one task, you may have more than one condition. It's not the case of this exercise, but I would say that in some situation, you may have a fixed date. And that's another external condition. Actually, that external condition could come from outside the network, something that's imposed, can be imposed by the client or by any kind of condition. So when you are calculating that, you have to consider all the conditions to set a time. It can be start time and early time. We don't have this. This is not in that exercise. I just put here because you may understand now. 13, I move 13 plus 1, 14. Therefore, the project duration is 14 working days. Working days. Task G, thank you. At least there is someone paying attention to me today, one person. Okay, 5, oh no, not 5. What's the early time, early start for task G? Is 5 plus the leg, go 8. 8 plus 3, 11. Again, now I have two conditions here, 13 and 11, and I should go with the highest number because it's a forward path. And therefore forward path at 13, 13, 14, and that is the forward path. Now let's move back and do the backward path. Backward path, we move back, so we go from always in the backward path. I want you to pay attention to one thing. You have the arrows, okay? You have the arrows. You have the arrows. That's the arrow that you have in the network. Always start with the, I don't know how to say it, the arrow, okay? And come back to the starting point. So try to pay attention in the backward path to move back on the arrows. And I will tell that because you see that that's important detail to understand. 14 minus 1, 13. 13, and so I'll be moving from the arrow back. So 13, I move with 13 for activity G. And then I move here, 13, move here, 13. Okay? And then I do 13 minus 3, 10. 13 minus 3, 10. Okay? And now I have to understand, I have to move back on the arrows, okay? On the arrows. So I have here and here. So I have to move back on that arrow. And also I have to move back on that one over here. Okay? I have to move back on the arrow. So in that arrow here, I have 13. Okay? 13. But because I'm moving backward, I have to remove the 2 days on the back of the leg. So I have 13 minus 2. I put here 11. When I move back from here, from activity E, I have to move back, so it's 10 minus 2. I have 8 here. Is that okay? But pay attention. I have another cell with 2 conditions. 2 conditions. I have another cell with 2 conditions here. And that condition is, first, I have to consider the task duration, that I go 11 minus 6, it's 5. And I have an external condition that is 10 minus 10 minus 2, that's 8. So that cell here, the late start for activity C, has 2 conditions. 2 conditions. A condition internal to the task that I have to consider that to finish on day 11, I have to consider that to execute the task I take 6 days, so I have to deduct that 6 days to execute the task. But I have another condition, that is because I have a relationship of start with E, I have to consider that condition. And because I'm moving backward, I take the lowest number. And now I take here 5. Okay? From here, I take 10, 10 minus 3, 7, minus 1, 6. And now I move back here. I have 5, and I come here 5. And again, on the first box, I have another cell with 2 conditions. I have the internal condition, that's the task execution, that is 5 minus 5. Let's go from here, it's 0. And I have 6 minus 4, because I have to remove the leg, and go, I have 2. So I have 2 conditions here, 0 and 2. Which one is the lowest? 0. So that is how we compute times in a network with legs. Is that okay? Let's understand here the slacks and understand the critical path on that network. So the critical path now is 0 here, I have 0 here, 2, and I have, and now that is I have 3 here, but I have another problem, because now I have a 0 in the late date. So it's like now I have to compute slacks for the start date, and for the late date, because I can have different between the earlier for the start time, early and finish, and the finish time from early to the late finish. And now we have the so we have to follow the zeros. So the critical path will be, and I'm doing that in orange, will be activity A, C, E. But E has a trick. It's just the finishing of E. I cannot delay the finishing of E. And E and F.
I have a question with the, for the order parts, how you have the 7 and the 5? So how'd you get the 0? It wouldn't be 2?
Oh, no, sorry. Jason.
Yes. Just making sure.
Yeah, just make sure, okay? Don't trust me, guys, okay? Don't trust me. Okay, let's do some interpretation on that exercise. What's going on here? Let's interpret that as a sequence of work. So you have design. What the project manager sought when he was elaborating the project sequence. What is the reasoning followed by the project manager? The project manager can say, okay, I have designed the first task. After design, I can do the code, software, and order parts. What the project manager discussing with the project team may have found out is that, okay, actually, I don't have to wait for the whole design. Maybe I have to wait some days in which they have an initial draft or initial design, and after that they will be issuing a list of materials. And therefore, when they issue the list of materials, I'm okay. I don't have to wait for them to finalize the design. So I can push that back and have them starting the order part right after list of material that should be done by day 3 or day 4. And that's the way he decided to move from a finish to start to a start to start with a lag. So the project manager is overlapping activities A and B. He decided to do that. He could decide to keep finish to start. Okay? Maybe by keeping finish to start, he would push that a little bit further. Okay, I don't know. Or at least, maybe he saw that may have a risk on the delivering of the materials from the activity B and G is when the materials, that lag of 3 is probably receiving the material. And so if they take 4 days or 5 days, I'll be pushing that, I'll be affecting the final date. So therefore, let's try to pull the activity B as soon as possible. And he could do that by changing finish to start with a lag. Okay? Did you get the interpretation? Maybe what it's just a guessing, okay? But what would be the reasoning of the project manager in that task? So let's go here. Debug is a task in which you try to find out errors in the code. Okay, and what he's saying here that, okay, usually you do the debug after the code. You try to find errors. After you finish the code, you try to find errors in your software code. But because the software is done in pieces, you can do one piece, then another piece, maybe what the project manager identified here is that I can start the debug before the end of the coding and start to just testing individual pieces of the code. And probably that was the reason behind to get a start to start. But then the project manager thought, okay, but if the guys here start going too fast, he realized that they will be finishing by day 10 before the code. But they cannot finish the code, finish the debug before the code is completed. So he could anticipate, so people start working together to gain some time. But he said, but I cannot allow that task to finish before the coding is completed. Therefore, he put as well a finish-to-finish relationship with a lag. So the debug team can start working earlier, but they cannot finish before the code is complete. And that was the reasoning of doing that. Okay? And then we have the network. So it's important to understand here, the project manager could choose to use finish to start in all the activities. He could choose that. But he decided that in some tasks, he could overlap a little bit and try to anticipate to mitigate the project risks. In that case, it's to mitigate project risks. I don't say if he gained time with that change, but he's for sure mitigating project risk, because if a task can start earlier, you reduce the chance of delaying that task. Okay?
We work hard to help you to get better marks, be prepared for job interviews, and excel in work meetings. You can send your questions in the comment area below. I will be pleased to answer all of them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe Américo e-Learning.